Warning, this video contains opinions and spoilers from the expansion of Battle for Azeroth. But if you don't care, then you may
stick around! Over! A is for awestruck, the look upon your faces. R is for reverence, you will know your places. T will be the triumph, the glory that I'll see. H is for the hell that I will bring along with me. A is for anticipation, for the day I shall be back. S is for the scourge, who will lead on the attack. Put it all together, and you will see why I sing. My name is Arthas, and I'm the one true king.
Greetings and salutations, everyone. I am back with some more videos for you all that aren't Twitch highlights. Shocking, I know, right? The following video gag was done by the talented people of Talecraft, so please thank them by checking out their channel and liking their amazing Warcraft and World of Warcraft content. And the singing voice of Arthas was done by Lawrencium. He does also some amazing machinima. I really liked his singing in this. Really hope you did too. Now, in the last speculation video, we talked about the potential for the Scourge, the Dragonflights, and Bolvar the Lich King to make a return. In a similar fashion, today we'll be talking about a certain someone that is showcased in both the thumbnail and title, the very person who has caused so much havoc in Warcraft history, and a key character whom is both beloved and hated within the community, Arthas Menethil. For those who don't know the story of Arthas Menethil, which, I mean, the odds of that are pretty slim since he's everywhere, but I'll try to abridge it for you. Arthas Menethil was the Crown Prince of Lordaeron. He was a very brash paladin who was ready to do anything to save his people from the plague of undeath, such that he resolved to slaughter an infected town who'd become undead, sell his soul to a blade made by a bunch of dreadlords to kill a dreadlord who had doomed his people, and become a champion to the very faction that had caused his kingdom so much misery. But hey, it was corruption at work, and we all know that if you're a corrupted person, it's not your fault, unless you're an orc, according to the community anyway.
That's not funny!
Anyway, he'd later become the Lich King, essentially the leader of the Scourge, and fall at the hands of the champions of the Alliance and the Horde, after he had the genius idea to coax them to the top of his citadel, after placing his minions as test dummies, to be slaughtered by the unstoppable machine that is the 7 to 10 rating player base for loot and laughter, and probably for that invisible horse he has. There's a lot of details I missed, such as Kel'Thuzad, his duel with Illidan, and the time he got drunk and tried to pin a tail on an ogre. But that's not the point of the video. And that last part never happened, I think. Arthas was an extremely loved character in World of Warcraft, and for many, his death all the way back in 2009 marked the end of World of Warcraft's story. For them, anyways. While I don't agree with that, since I still play and enjoy the story to this day, it is something to think about during this video. You're probably wondering why we're even talking about this. Well, it all stems from the fact that Blizzard, for whatever reason, keeps foreshadowing Arthas in cinematics, dialogues, and just in Battle for Azeroth. So I figured, heck, instead of asking, will Arthas return, I asked instead, should Arthas return? As that seems like a very possible direction Blizzard might be hinting at. In this video, we'll be addressing why he should or shouldn't return, how he'd return, and when he should return. Let's get started, shall we? Let's get started with a most blunt question. Why shouldn't Arthas return? As stated before, Arthas Menethel's story was filled with grief, triumph, and just amazing writing all around, from 2002's Reign of Chaos to 2008's Wrath of the Lich King. Throughout the expansion, Arthas had taunted you, the player, killed beloved characters, and made it clear just how much of a threat he was to the world. At the end of Arthas' reign, his iconic Runeblade was shattered by Tyrion Fordring, and he was slain by the Alliance and the Horde. Before he embraced darkness, his father's ghost appeared before him and offered him moments of comfort before he passed on. Again, it was argued that this was among the greatest way to end Arthas' story, wrapping up a great deal of pain and suffering he had caused to a numerous amount of characters, and his legacy still is affecting so many to this day. Arthas' story should remain over, really. He had a perfect ending that had wrapped up in Wrath of the Lich King, and it should remain concluded, in my opinion. And that's the video. See you next time. Well, I suppose we can cover the rest. So, why should Arthas return? So, we've explained that his story was wrapped up beautifully, and it would be sacrilege to reopen the scar wound that is Arthas. So narratively, bringing Arthas back for the most part wouldn't really be necessary. However, it is clear the wounds Arthas left behind have never been so casually shown in Battle for Azeroth. There are things that could be resolved with his character returning, especially with Kalia, Sylvanas, and potentially even Jaina. But again, most of these characters have been making strides to mend these wounds that have been created, Jaina especially. One character, ironically a rival of Arthas, was Illidan Stormrage, who was argued to have the worst main character deaths in Warcraft, and had been teased for years in returning for a redemption story by Blizzard. We wound up getting exactly that in Legion, and for the most part, the return of Illidan was handled rather well, making him as more of a hero than a villain like he was in Warcraft 3, showcasing his abilities and intelligence and bringing a satisfying end to his arc, while also shelving him for a later story. But let's go ahead and ditch the narrative for a moment, because in the product that is World of Warcraft, money is paramount, and you know that if Blizzard brought Arthas back, it would flood them with more green than an Encourage trash farm run, as he is a fan favorite. So, business-wise, bringing Arthas back would probably be a smart move. I'm willing to bet they even tested the waters of such a method with Illidan's return in Legion. And again, this isn't to say bringing Arthas back wouldn't bring in a good story, but I'd be lying if I said it wouldn't kill that perfect ending that had been created at the end of Wrath of the Lich King. As to how Arthas should return, when entering the world that is Azeroth, death is not really as final as it is portrayed. There's a multitude of ways that Arthas could come back, but resurrection is the most common method, so we'll go with that. If I was to bring Arthas back, it would not be as the Lich King, since that story is done with, and bringing him back as a mindless ghoul would just be insulting to both the player base and the character. Were Blizzard to bring Arthas back, it would be under the Scourge again, except this time as your typical everyday undead, or Forsaken. One portrayal you could denote a lot in Warcraft 3 was not Arthas as the Lich King, but rather Arthas the Death Knight, a character in which you either grew to despise or enjoy playing. This is the Arthas that I would have Bolvar resurrect and act as a champion of the Scourge. It would be satisfying and also refreshing in a way to see Arthas not as the leader of the Scourge, but as its champion again. It would also be pretty ironic considering Arthas wanted Bolvar to be his champion, and now the roles are reversed, with having Bolvar as Arthas' master. Realistically, you could have Sylvanas or Kel'Thuzad, I know he's out there, damn it, or just anyone to revive Arthas, but my point is that I would have it be an Arthas that we're familiar with, but one we've not seen for quite some time. Cut down on the repetition, bring something underutilized. Now, onto the when. When should Arthas return? Considering I believe that another Scourge expansion is on its way, or potentially even a patch, I think that would be the perfect time, which at this time I think it should be. I would highly advise them not to execute Arthas' return as a dungeon or a raid, but introduce it as a questline at the start or the middle of the expansion. I think it'd be really neat if they had Bolvar invade Stormwind to secure the body of Arthas, as I believe that is where his body had been taken. So I'd say whenever Bolvar is taking the center stage again, whether that be in a patch or a coming expansion. Personally, I say that Arthas' time is done. The legacy his character has left is already enough a representation of his character. I greatly miss his presence in World of Warcraft, and it is clear that they are running out of antagonists to use, but I think Arthas is just one of those characters whom should be left untouched. His ending was amazing, and I feel like if they did anything with him besides these callbacks, it would ruin him for a lot of people. Now, if they want to bring back a character whom I personally was, well, shafted, I would choose Deathwing, really. But this isn't the video for that, and plus, I think that's even more risky, all things considered. In the end, the decision to bring Arthas back is up to Blizzard, and I brought those other ideas to the table because it's fun. And there is room for Blizzard to do right with Arthas' return, should it come to pass. But these are my thoughts. Do you think Arthas should return? Or do you think the prince should remain at eternal rest? Let me know down below, or make your own video on this topic. That'd be awesome to see like Nixium or anybody else talk about this besides me. If you'd like to know more about Arthas and his story, I highly recommend you go back and check out Nobbel's videos on him. It's a big wealth of knowledge right there. He also makes videos about other amazing lore subjects. Also check out Talecraft and their amazing videos. They made that intro gag, it was really good. As well as the glorious voice of Arthas that was Lawrencium. Go ahead and check him out as well, of course. Watch me on Twitch at 4 PM Eastern Time to 9 PM Eastern Time on Mondays through Wednesdays. Support me on my Patreon, follow me on Twitter, and check out my art on DeviantArt. Links are all down below, and until next time, guys, I'll be seeing you. Peace!
And now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain. My friend, I'll say it clear, I'll state my case, of which I'm certain. I've lived a life that's full, I've traveled each and every highway, but more, much more than this, I did it my way. Regrets, I've had a few, but then again, too few to mention. I did what I had to do and saw it through without exemption. I planned each charted course, each careful step along the byway, but more, much more than this, I did it my way. Yes, there were times, I'm sure you knew,
where I bit off more than I can chew. And through it all, when there was doubt, I ate it up and spit it out. The record shows I took the blows and did it my